Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the Old Men Magic podcast, where your hosts Alex and Steve discuss current and not so current matters in the world of Magic the Gathering. How you doing, Alex?
Great. How's it going?
Pretty good. So let's start off today just by getting right into things. We're going to talk about a couple of the angels that we discussed on the last episode.
All
So
right.
there were a couple questions I had regarding two of the angels. Did a little bit of research after last week's show, and I got some answers. So the first angel that I was wondering about was Avenging Angel. So this is the 3/3 flying angel from Tempest. And when Avenging Angel is put into any graveyard from play, you may put Avenging Angel on top of owner's library. So when we were discussing this card last week, I had the thought that maybe you did not have to put this angel back onto the top of your deck the round in which she died. Perhaps if she died, you could wait a couple turns, draw some other cards, and then 3-4 turns later, put it back onto your library and draw it. And it was because it said if.
Yeah.
It didn't say when Avenging Angel was put into your graveyard. I got onto Gatherer, I looked around, and I found that there was an update to the language that clarified all of this. So this is the text from Tempest Remastered, which is the online only printing, so to speak, of this card. And it says, flying, when Avenging Angel dies, you may put it on top of its owner's library. So that clarifies that
Yeah.
thing that I was confused about last episode. And also makes me think that if they revised the language, I was not the only person that was confused about that.
Yeah. It was, just back when they hadn't standardized everything and they used some of those words interchangeably here and there, and sometimes it caused problems.
Second angel we had some question about was Achroma. Achroma, Angel of Wrath, I believe. This is a card that was originally printed in Legions, which is a set that I really have not learned much about at all.
Yeah,
this was the 6/6 flying, first strike, trample, haste, protection from black, protection from red angel. And that I saw when she is used, she's often used in reanimator decks. The question was, how do you reanimate Achroma? Because we were thinking about the reanimation cards that we were familiar with. Animate Dead, Necromancy. If she has protection of black, how do you target her with those cards?
Yeah.
Did a little bit of research. So the ruling is, when a card is in your graveyard, these protections don't apply, so they can be targeted. So you could technically cast Animate Dead on Achroma, Angel of Wrath when she was in the graveyard. However, the moment they come into play, the protection then comes back into effect. Any enchantment like Animate Dead, any black enchantment like Animate Dead or Necromancy that you cast on Achroma would immediately be removed, and then they would go back to the graveyard.
Right. Yeah, that was the key. I remember looking that up too. That yes, it'll work initially because that she's not in play, so that ability doesn't apply yet. But once she comes into play, we'll destroy that enchantment.
Yeah. So technically, you can't really do it. I mean, you can, but technically, you can't. Technically, you can, but you can't do anything with the card.
Maybe. I mean,
are we going to get confused again?
Maybe not with her, but like with another card, or if there's a condition in play from another card that where like her coming into play would cause something to happen.
True.
It would still cause that to happen.
If if something is triggered.
Yeah.
By her coming into play. But I believe even though she has haste, you can't like bring her in and attack before the Animate Dead.
No, the Animate Dead I think would be destroyed first. Yeah.
Yeah. So potentially, yeah, she could trigger some effect.
Yeah.
But you can't attack with her. What I did find is a card named Exhume. I don't know if you're familiar with this card, but I actually bought a few copies of this card.
Give me some.
Back in probably a couple months ago, when I was going through some of these sets that were printed post Weatherlight, and I was like, oh man, there's so much graveyard interaction that's been printed. I wanted to make a reanimation deck, and I picked up a few copies of this one because it was the cheapest.
I like this card.
Yeah, they're a buck something right now.
It
The
would be
card is
fun to
Exhume. I can't remember if
multiplayer.
I said it. Exhume from Urza's Saga. It's one colorless, one black sorcery. Each player chooses a creature card in his or her graveyard and puts that creature into play. So it doesn't actually target a chroma. You just cast a spell, and then the player just chooses whatever card they want to take out of their graveyard, put it into play, or whatever creature they want to take out of their graveyard. So when I see a chroma run in reanimation decks, there's always Exhume in that deck too. I think this is at least the only card I am yet familiar with that you can use to bring a chroma onto the battlefield. At least a black card that you could use to bring a chroma on the battlefield.
There's got
Actually,
to
I
be
don't
some
know.
other ones that just aren't enchantments, right? That's the hang up again with Animate Dead, is that it would like.
That's definitely one problem. Yeah. So you're getting at if Animate Dead was not an enchantment.
Well, there are some other spells or abilities probably that just like bring something back from the graveyard without
Yes.
leaving enchantment on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Exhume would work because it's a black card, but while it's a black card, uh, it's being cast while a chroma's in the graveyard, and you're not targeting any specific card when you're casting Exhume.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it works because it's not
Well, I
an
got
enchantment;
confused
it's a
again.
sorcery. Uh, what did you say?
Well, I got confused again. Does the protection apply when she's in the graveyard or
No,
not?
it doesn't. Yeah, yeah,
So then, yeah, the fact that it doesn't target her then doesn't matter, right? It's
it
just
doesn't matter. Yeah,
not okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Phew.
It also doesn't target her, and that's what I thought allowed this card to work. It does not target her. It doesn't target. You don't cast it to target any specific thing, at least the way
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
worded in my mind. But also, that's not really relevant. The spell is cast when a chroma is in the graveyard. So therefore, even though it's a black card, you could target her.
Okay. So like shallow grave, do people run shallow grave with that?
I don't know. Let me. I think actually, I forgot about Shallow Grave, but I think maybe yes. Let me read the language on
I've
Shallow
seen a
Grave.
few more cards that do similar things too, that bring something back and like what about that no rest for the wicked I was talking about? I don't know if we
Yeah.
talked
So
about
Shallow Grave, an instant. Put the top creature card from your graveyard into play as though it were just played. I think Shallow Grave should work then too. If you can target a creature with
this doesn't
protection from
even
black
target them, so
while they're in the graveyard, yes, this doesn't target either.
yeah. And no rest from the wicked, one colorless, one black enchantment. Sacrifice the enchantment. Return to your hand all creature cards that were put into your graveyard from play this turn.
That's right. You brought this one up. Did you bring this? You brought this one up before.
Yeah, I told you it was. I don't think we were recording. It was off the podcast, but it's a cheap, uncommon enchantment from Urza's Saga, and I like it.
Because I noticed the art. I was like, oh, it's R2D2
With his
wrapped in a
candy
green skin
face.
with a robot arm attached to its side and an alien head on top. Interesting. So yeah, enchantment, sacrifice, return to your hand all creature cards that were put into graveyard for play. The only problem with this is like you would have to have a chroma out first. And then she would have to be in play first and then go to your
What?
graveyard.
Oh, you mean because it's from play as opposed to like from your hand?
Yeah.
The top of your
Or
library.
directly from the graveyard. It doesn't say like take anything from your graveyard. It refers specifically to creature cards that were put into play or put into your graveyard from play this turn.
Yeah.
So you would have to get her into play first, which is a problem sometimes.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying.
And
Because
then
it's
you would need to sacrifice no
right,
rest for the wicked. And then she would go back to your hand. Then you would need to get her in play again.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, this wouldn't work with her so well,
But Shallow Grave would work, I think. If anybody disagrees, please call us an idiot. Please call us idiots in the comment below, in the comment section below. Shallow Grave is $32 too right now. Exhume is much
I've
cheaper.
been watching it, man. That Shallow Grave's hanging tight. It's not dipping. I think mine was, I forget if mine was 27 or 29, but yeah, it's like I want it to come down so I can get another one.
This is a weird chart, and we're looking at the
Yeah, it
price
had
chart on MTG stocks for Shallow Grave. Spikes
repeated interest.
after a few years, it goes back down where it was pre-spike. Spikes again after a couple years, close to where it was pre-spike. Spikes again after 2 years, back down to where it was pre-spike. 2021 spiked like crazy, dropped, but not nearly, nowhere near where it was pre-pandemic, when you can get it for under $10. Now it's 32 still.
Yeah.
Was as high as 50. Yeah. Would be nice to get some of those for less than $30. More than I want to pay for a playset of Shallow Graves.
Yeah.
But those are that's the follow up to my Angels segment from last week. Some clarification on how to use Avenging Angel, what you can do with Avenging Angel, and I know I have at least 2 cards now you can use to get a chroma from the graveyard directly into play. Shallow Grave, the one bad thing is you only get to swing with her for one turn, right?
Okay.
Shallow Grave, remove the creature from the game at the end of any turn. So you just get her back for one turn.
Yeah. Might be better with certain other cards.
Colossus Astardia.
Oh God, don't start with that again.
Let's talk about a different artifact,
Okay.
which is going to be my special topic of the week. It is the memory jar. This is the segment where the old men talk about memory jar. And memory jar is an artifact that was printed in Urza's Legacy. It's 5 casting cost. It is on the reserve list. Alex, the current market price on MTG stocks for memory jar is $49.84. So it's not a cheap card. Not a cheap card, but it was up to as much as about $100 roughly a year and a half ago. So it's far off its peak, like a lot of things, but also like a lot of things, not nearly as cheap as it was pre-pandemic, when you could have picked it up for like $10 to $20, depending on the month you tried to purchase it. So when you cast memory jar, you can tap it, then sacrifice memory jar. And when you sacrifice the jar, each player sets aside his or her hand face down and draws 7 cards. At the end of turn, each player discards his or her hand and returns to his or her hand each card he or she set aside this way.
Yeah, fun.
So when I first started looking at some of these pre-modern sets, I was browsing Urza's Legacy. I found this artifact and I was like, oh, this is very unique. Like, this looks neat. I want to play it with Underworld Dreams or something. But then, of course, Underworld Dreams wasn't pre-modern legal. And I mentioned this to you, and I was like, oh, what would I do with this in this format? What do people do with this card? I also want to mention that it's not legal in a lot of formats. If it is legal, it's pretty much restricted. So it's of course not legal in all the formats that only let you play modern cards. It's banned in Legacy.
Vintage, right?
Yeah. It's restricted in Vintage. It's legal in Commander, where you can only play 1 copy of each card. And most important to me, it's banned in pre-modern. So, question 1, what do you do with this card? 2, why is it banned and restricted? The first thing you said to me when I brought up this card was Megrim. There's a card named Megrim or Megrim. Not sure how to pronounce it.
Megrim.
Megrim sounds right.
I looked it up to make sure. It doesn't. I would say Megrim if I like that word organically, I guess, but it's supposed to be Megrim.
Megrim. So this is a card that was first printed in Stronghold. It's a black enchantment, 2 colorless, 1 black. Whenever any opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to him or her.
Booyah.
It's a cheap card. You can pick up the original printings for 36 cents market price on MTG stocks right now.
And I think, yeah, I mentioned before, I had one of these from back in the day. I must have pulled from like the only pack of this I ever bought. And I put it immediately into my black discard deck, and I don't think I like ever really got to play with it
Mm-hmm.
because we quit Magic.
We quit.
So yeah, I knew about it. I had one hanging around, but uh, I
I
was a
mean, even
little
in the
worried. I
absence
was
of
like, is
memory
this
jar.
card too slow? Is this, I have to pay 3 to get this down, but 2 damage for it's not 1 damage, 2 damage for each card is pretty good. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I mean I know it's good because yeah, of your next point about the people who went to a tournament with it, which I can let you explain. Um, but memory jar frightened me because it's 5 casting cost. Is there a way that people deal with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Something we talked about last week. But Megrim, like even in the absence of memory jar, it's still it's I would probably play this card,
I
see
like
how
it.
it worked. I wonder how often it's played. But it seems like just even in the absence of memory jar, it's a pretty good card in a black discard deck.
Yeah.
Whenever any opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to him or her. It also seems like a good way to get yourself like attacked when you're playing commander or something.
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say it's a good way to get you noticed. Yeah. Um, but yeah, with any sort of effect like memory jar too, there are other cards where you could, that might be making people discard things, or like even in a situation where people have to draw a lot of cards, they're gonna have an oversized hand and then have to discard to like pare down their hand.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, let's say, I mean, would it be decent in like a black blue stasis deck or something where you're locking them down, winter orbs where you're locking them down and they just can't play enough, so
Yes, they have to
they
discard a
have
hand,
to discard it.
howling mines and such.
Yeah. So even in the absence of memory jar, Megrim still seems pretty fun to play. But this was the card that made memory jar uh terrible for opponents of a memory jar
For
deck.
opponents.
Absolutely terrible. Uh I found out that a memory jar was emergency banned because of the way it comboed with Megrim. Emergency banned, Alex. It was the
Emergency.
first emergency ban. You might ask what an emergency ban is. It just means that it was banned outside of the normal schedule for announcing restrictions and bans,
Send a
which
bicycle courier with it. And he runs into the building in a sweat.
I don't know what they did. They saw what happened at this tournament in 1999, and Richard
Yeah,
Garfield
he
made
didn't
some
like it.
emergency phone calls, and then things were
I didn't
emergency
play with
banned
Richard
after Richard
Garfield
Garfield's
anymore.
emergency phone calls. So I think it was legal for like a week or so, maybe a couple weeks is what I read.
Funny.
Like Urza's Legacies came out. Two guys came up with this deck. At least they were the first to play it in like a high profile tournament. And then like a week or two after it was printed,
Did it say if they knew each other? Like, or were they both going
they
in
did.
knowing?
So
They did? Okay, yeah.
it was let me see who brought this
Let's
deck.
both join the tournament and run this deck. See if either of us wins. See how far we can both get. That's cool.
This deck was developed. This is going to be the card list from the Broken Jar deck by Randy Bueller and Eric Lauer. Randy Bueller, I've heard his name a lot as I've been getting back into Magic, and he was active back in the day when we played. He was like a high profile tournament player, very well known. He might be an MTG Hall of Famer. I'm pretty sure he is. And then Eric Lauer was like his deck building buddy, and they both built the deck together. And they both brought it to the same tournament, Grand Prix Vienna 1999, and they both top eighted. They finished third and fourth.
Sweet.
So it was like the first time the deck was played, people saw it in action. They were like, "This is absurd." Emergency ban.
Didn't even win. Didn't win the tournament.
That is the one thing I noticed. So I was like,
Why
"Yeah,
shouldn't
he didn't win."
at least
So
wait for like one more tournament? I don't know. I guess maybe they figured the next tournament everyone would be playing it. I don't know.
well, so what I read, that is one thing, but also, what I read was this emergency ban occurred in the context of what is called combo winter.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So you and I were still in high school, 98, 99, when Urza's Saga, Urza's Legacy came out. But that's when we like stopped paying attention to Magic,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been a great time to buy Magic because it was
Yeah.
like,
I'm not sure. I don't know if we were just real busy because we were seniors and stuff. We weren't like we didn't care. I think we kind of got. I don't know. I don't know. I won't. I can't remember.
we weren't really playing. We weren't playing or buying. I mean, I
We
think we were
stopped.
still, we
We
are
were
still,
playing with our old cards, but we weren't buying anything new. That's for sure.
I don't even remember playing that much.
Yeah.
We definitely weren't buying new cards. I mean, we were still playing D&D, right, in BJ's basement. We just weren't playing
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering.
That might have been part of it too. I think like the people we were hanging out with, it's like there were a few people that quit Magic or weren't playing as much anymore. So it was kind of like we were moving on to other things because of,
I'm sure the finances had something to do with it. It's like, okay, we bought some cards.
I think
We
we
had
were
some decks we
soured
could
on a few
build.
sets as well. There were a couple sets that we don't like the direction this is going.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that was true for like Ice Age and Fallen Empires.
Yeah, but Mirage was great.
Fallen Empires and Homeland
We had fun with
specifically.
those.
And then when Mirage came out, it renewed my interest. I was like, okay, because we started with Revised and we went to these card shops and we saw these guys who were older than us with these kick-ass collections of restricted unlimited cards. And although there wasn't a ton of that around, but there were people with like cool ass Arabian Nights collections, Legends collections. And we were all excited when the first expansions came out when we were playing. And then we got like Ice Age, which looking back on it wasn't terrible, but it was no Legends or Arabian Nights.
No.
And then after that, you got Fallen Empires and Homelands, which is just like it was a horrible thing that Wizards of the Coast did to us, Alec. It was terrible.
Fallen Empires first? Was that before Ice Age? I think it was. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Anyways, but yeah, same
But it
thing.
was on that same
And
era.
alliances. I mean, now there's a few cards in alliances that have value, but I split a box of that and it sucked.
Yeah. But Mirage got me more interested. I remember when Mirage out, it was a much better set. The artwork was more vibrant, the cards were more interesting, they seemed more powerful. Visions was also good. I enjoyed aspects of Weatherlight, but despite that, I just kind of stopped. I kind of stopped playing. So we missed the Urzas. That's what I was getting to.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I bring that up? Oh, what I was saying was Memory Jar. You were like, oh, why was it banned after just one tournament? You know, it happened in the context of what they called Combo Winter, which was when Urza's Saga came out. There were multiple cards in that set that turned out to be way too powerful, and they were just dominating the tournament scene. There were several combo decks that people built from Urza's cards.
Yeah,
they were just taking everything over, and a group of them were banned and restricted. This is how Wizards was trying to bring like some competitiveness back to the format, which I think at that time it was extended format, or I think that was what it was called, extended format. Apparently people were upset about how powerful these Urza Sagas cards were. They were leaving the game. Tournaments weren't exciting anymore. All you had to do is build like one of a few decks, and that was what it was going to win. They banned those cards. Everybody's like, okay, maybe now deck building will get a little bit more interesting. Maybe these formats will get more interesting. Then Urza's Legacy came out, and immediately a week after Urza's Legacy came out, you have this ridiculous Memory Jar combo deck. And people were like, oh my God, this was supposed to be the end of Combo Winter. So they just immediately banned it. To answer your question, that's why it was an immediate ban, because it was in the context of this larger group of Urza's cards that were too powerful and then were banned just prior to Urza's Legacy. So Combo Winter. I heard people talk about Combo Winter, but I don't remember all the cards that were in it. One of them was Tolarian Academy,
and that's another card that's like pretty much not legal in any format.
It's pretty much like Memory Jar. I think I think it might be restricted in like Vintage or something.
I was going to mention that last week. I think we started talking about cards banned in pre-modern, and that's one to remember.
It's banned in pre-modern.
Yeah. If you're ever thinking about picking one, because it's a cool card, I'd like to have one, but
I know I want to pick one up. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I want to pick one up.
It's very good.
But Randy Bueller and Eric Lauer's Grand Prix Vienna 1999 Broken Jar deck. Let's go through the deck a little bit. 16 lands, 3 Ancient Tombs, 4 City of Brass, 2 Gemstone Mine, 3 Underground River, 4 Underground Sea. 25 artifacts, 4 Defense Grid, 4 Lion's Eye Diamond, 4 Lotus Petals, 4 Mana Vault, 1 Megrim, 4 memory jar, 4 Mox Diamond. As far as I can tell, the only way to damage your opponent is with Megrim in
Wow.
this deck, and it's just a single Megrim, which kind of
Wow.
freaks me out.
Yeah.
I'm not a master deck builder. I'm terrible at Magic the Gathering. I'd be terrified to run a deck with not only just
Oh.
like not just a single win condition, but like a single card.
Yeah, I know. People do it though. And if you've played it enough, like tested enough, I guess you get more comfortable. But
Yeah, I mean
you're going
they
into a
clearly
tournament,
refined
you
this.
don't know what you're gonna see. Like that's
Yeah.
got to be scary going in.
And then a group of other types of cards. 4 brainstorm, 4 dark ritual, 1 mystical tutor, 4 tinker,
Yeah,
4
like
vampiric tutor,
awesome deck.
2 Yawgmoth's Will. So the Yawgmoth's Will at least partially addresses my fear about Megrim. It's like, oh, you only have 1 Megrim. What if somebody disenchants it or something? Yawgmoth's Will allows you to play cards from the graveyard.
Yeah.
As if they're in play. So you can always bring it back, but you still got to find it the first time. Which,
yeah, but you have some of that blue card draw in there.
You got blue guard draw and you got memory jar, which allows you to pull 7 cards, draw 7 cards. So the deck is full of fast mana with Ancient Tomb, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Mana Vault, Mox Diamond, Dark Ritual. Has multicolored mana sources.
Imagine having Ancient Tomb and Dark Ritual both there, like in that, like the format at the same time, like the standard format, or the.
You could be living that dream, Alex, if you played pre-modern. You could be living that dream. They're both legal in that format. You're staring at me.
I'm looking at that as
okay.
Deck building.
It has card draw, tutor cards, brainstorm, mystical tutor, vampiric tutor, tinker, Yawgmoth's Will. So this is all to get your. I mean, this is to get your memory jar and your Megrim.
And we talked about how good Tinker is. He has these tutors that are all good. They're
4
all
tinkers, you're going to get the memory jar.
Format like available.
4 vampiric tutors were legal at this time, which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment in time there.
So it's fast mana to cast your memory jar and Megrim as soon as possible. All the tutors, the tinkers, to get those memory jars and Megrim as soon as possible. Yawgmoth's Will allows you to play the cards that are in your graveyard. And then they have Defense Grid. I don't know if you're familiar with Defense Grid or not.
I have seen that, but I forget.
I've seen this pop up when I'm browsing different pre-modern deck lists. It seems to be common as a sideboard card. So it helps against counter decks. It's artifact, 2 colorless to cast during each player's turn. Each other player's spells cost 3 more to play. So if you're running combos and you have Defense Grid out, if somebody wants to counter anything you're running or anything you're casting, their counter spell all of a sudden takes 5 mana to play.
So good, just for 2 mana.
Just for 2 mana. I'm trying to think another reason. I feel like when I looked at this earlier, I thought of another reason why this would be good in this deck, other than just countering. Oh, and I remember what it was. Because Megrim,
Defense Grid. Fuck.
You are. Were you just looking at the price of a Defense Grid? They're like 20 something. Yeah.
Actually, less than I thought maybe it would be, but
I was hoping it'd be like a $2 card. I'd be like, I'll give a play set of those. 1976. It's not reserve list. It's just a fairly pricey Urza's Legacy rare. But another reason this is good, aside from the making counterspells more costly, it makes everything more costly, which means when you make them draw 7 with
with the
memory jar,
yeah,
it's like even if let's say you're playing a red deck or something, and they pull like 3 the lightning bolts. They can't just play 3 lightning bolts real quick to get them out of their hand to damage you and to prevent taking damage from having to discard those to Megrim. It's like it makes it so they pretty much are going to have to discard at least like 6 of those 7 cards that you made them draw, which is going to be 12 damage, to Megrim.
Yep.
So it's good for multiple reasons. So that's the memory jar deck. That's what makes memory jar so beastly. And you were right when you brought up Megrim. This is the combo that got the card banned. Memory jar Megrim. This deck list also taught me about Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah.
Which is
What an expensive card.
Pretty awesome. When I just put up Yawgmoth's Testament, yeah, it's quite pricey. It's reserve list.
I kind of, I don't know how I want to phrase this. I kind of wish this card didn't exist. I think is my
Well,
feeling about it.
doesn't exist for you. Can't
Yeah,
afford
it
it.
doesn't exist for me. And so I'm sort of glad that it's expensive and that it's just like not even an option for a lot of people.
For
Because
most people, yeah.
I don't want to play against this card, and I don't want to have to auto include it in my deck either.
I coughed into the mic.
That's okay.
This is the segment where I cough into the mic.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's such a good card, and I don't know. There's something about it that like I'm just okay not playing this and not having it around for anyone else to play either.
Yeah. $210 market price right now. It is banned in pre-modern. So if you play pre-modern, you don't have to worry about playing against Yawgmoth's Will.
Okay.
The other cool thing about this card that I didn't think in this memory jar deck that I didn't think about right away is, you cast Yawgmoth's Will, 2 colorless, 1 black sorcery. Until end of turn, you may play cards in your graveyard as though they were in your hand. Cards put into your graveyard this turn are removed from the game instead. So let's say you play memory jar, right? You don't cast all the stuff you get. You don't cast all the stuff you draw. You discard some of it, but you don't care all that much because you don't take damage from Megrim, just your opponent does when they discard. Let's say this memory jar deck has a bunch of 0 cost casting cost mana spells in it. Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Mox Diamond. They're all 0 casting cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can play Yawgmoth's Will, and then you could just like cast for 0 any LEDs or any Lotus Petals or any Mox Diamonds.
All your zero casting cost stuff right out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Play it for free again. So, anyways,
they had to do something. They couldn't let this deck, exist, right?
I know because you were like, oh, you said, oh, it didn't win the tournament, which was my first thought, also. But then also you got to realize that like it would have been one, people would have responded to it. Of course, a new thing comes out, everybody has to build against it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, people would have refined it. It might have got even worse.
Yeah.
Than it was, in its
initial
initial iteration.
Card list there, and I feel like it would be hard to top that cycle of cards that you have that are all of those casting costs, and it looks like it all fits together so well that you just are like drawing and pulling stuff from your graveyard and casting stuff for free and just basically like doing whatever you want with your deck.
I saw there's a video on YouTube of Randy Bueller. I think it's on the Card Kingdom YouTube webpage, where they had some sort of video series that they put together where I think he was piloting like banned decks or decks with built around. I don't know if it was just like famous decks or like decks that you can't actually play in any format anymore because the cards are all banned.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, he was piloting the memory jar deck against somebody. And it was different from this. It was a version that had Necro in it, Necropotence.
Oh, really? Jesus.
And it was like, I watched him play 2 rounds, and the 2 rounds were both turn 2 kills. Because with memory jar and Necro, it's like he got everything he needed easily.
Yeah, just with some dark rituals and 0 casting cost mana artifacts, you can set that combo up right away and then just draw as much as you want. That's why I'll say what I just said about Yawgmoth's Will, I think I'll apply that even as much or more to Necropotence. It's just I never liked it back in the day. I didn't like play. I'm like heavy black in what I play.
Yeah.
I like blue black in my decks, and I've always found that card so frustrating to play against that like I kind of never wanted to play it myself.
I don't even remember like people in our group playing it. It was a card that
we had one friend who played it. Yeah, we had one friend who played it, and it was really good, and I hated it.
I don't even remember that.
Black, blue, with phasing stuff. Yeah.
Which friend?
I can't remember.
The phasing friend. You've
Phasing
talked about the phasing deck before, and you told me it was a deck that it upset you.
I think that's my memory. I might be confusing two different decks with
The
each other.
phasing deck upset you because, and you were like, you always tell me that, oh, he got it out of a book. He got a list out of a book. Is that the same deck? It ran Necro too?
Huh?
Is it
I
the
think
same?
so. I think that deck used Necropotence to.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I might be just mixing two things
I don't
together.
remember
I
that
have
deck,
to look
but
it up.
it might. Necro decks dominated the tournament scene around that
Yeah,
time. I didn't remember us playing them, but
no, I didn't have it, and it
I
was
never had one
not
either.
cheap. I think it was $20 plus $20 to $30 back then.
Okay, that would explain. I wasn't a black player either, so if there was a black card in Ice Age that was $20, there's no way that I would go
There's
for it.
something about it. The card just never caught me initially. It never just like maybe be like, I want to play this card and a deck built around it. It's very good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's super strong card, but I don't know. I just yeah.
I hear people talk about it now. People who have been involved in the competitive scene. I was not, and when they mention it, I've heard multiple people say that like it's an obviously broken card, and Wizards of the Coast has tried to print like different variations of it since then, and they tried to make it weaker, but those variations still ended up being broken. And despite the fact how broken it was, it's often pointed out by people that I hear on podcasts or YouTube videos that I watch that like it took a while for it to dominate the tournament scene.
For people to figure it out.
Yeah, it's not like Ice Age came out and then like with
you're
Memory
right.
Jar, a week or two
Right.
later, people were destroying opponents in tournaments with Necro decks. Like people didn't want to pay the life for the card draw at the beginning, even though everybody knew card advantage was like the thing that won you games
Do you
already.
think it's maybe because of those later sets, like the sets after it that came out, maybe gave you more things to play with it and more options?
I don't know. Yeah, I
Ice
don't.
Age by itself, maybe it wasn't as strong, but once you had Mirage Block, start adding Mirage cards to it and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think it was a problem even before Mirage. Like, I think it was a problem
Okay.
just in Ice Age block. It's just that like it took a year or so for it to catch on.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Necro is also banned in pre-modern.
Don't get me wrong, there are cards from other colors I want to get rid of too. So it's not just black, but
We can have an episode about cards you want to get rid of.
those are two black cards I don't mind. I don't know, not seeing.
These are two black cards that I want to play because I never piloted a Necro deck, and now looking back on it, I'm like, I just want to build one and
I would like to try it, I guess,
just for fun and play it against some people.
okay.
I'd like to build a Memory Jar deck and just for fun play it against people. No format in particular. Just be like, hey, will you let me try to kill you in 2 turns with this deck? See how it works.
Just stand there.
Yeah. Just sit across from me at the table while I do my thing for 2 turns. Then I'll go home happy.
I did it. The goal.
Okay.
All right. So where are we at? How long was that? Are we?
That's the end of the Memory Jar segment.
Okay. Do we have time left? Do you want to talk about something else?
Yeah. Let's just talk about recent purchases. I don't know if you have any recent purchases you want to talk about.
Yeah. I have some stuff.
I got a few things too. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Let's see if I have to figure this out. It's from like a week ago now, so I can't remember which cards I talked about last time and which cards I didn't. So I'm gonna have to tell you the card and like, yeah, you talked about that.
Oh, I'll forget, Alex. I don't remember what we talked about last week.
Dang it. Okay.
This is your Urza's purchases. So this is the continuation of your Urza's purchases, right?
Continuation of Urza's purchases. We talked about Stern Proctor, I think, right? I think so.
Alex, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast on any day. Like I have no idea what I do with my life.
Stern Proctor is 2 blue, 1/2 summon wizard. When he comes into play, return target artifact or enchantment to owner's hand.
See, I would say we definitely did not talk about this card. I was telling somebody at work the other day that like I don't remember anything that I do ever. It's like I'm living a new life every single day. No, I don't think that it was always like this.
Not so
I think
good.
that I'm barely functioning, and it kind of makes me scared about the future.
Forget some stuff. I'm starting to notice it a little bit. I'm like a little like, oh, I forgot something.
I'm almost
But
positive we did not talk about Stern Proctor.
I love this card.
I like the artwork.
A bunch of people probably think I'm dumb, but it's 2 casting cost. It's 2 blue. It's a 1/2 creature, so it's immune to like little pingy damage, which is not bad. And it comes into play, it boomerangs an artifact or enchantment to its owner's hand. You can use it for yourself. You can use it against your opponent. We've talked plenty of times about how we think things that target certain types of spells that become better over time. There's more artifacts and enchantments now. I don't know. I'd put it in the deck.
Running a Howling Mind deck. So then the 2 turns you play Stern Proctors on, you get the card draw, but your opponent doesn't.
Yeah, I love that.
Terrible use of it, but
I like it.
Any sort of artifact or enchantment that has some sort of like a trigger effect,
Yeah. Now you can't use it as an instant, obviously, to like save your stuff in time, but so you probably won't be using it on your own stuff much. But maybe there's something with like a cumulative upkeep.
Yeah.
Um,
Things with fading.
Yeah, okay.
We might have talked about this last week because now I'm having this vague memory of being like, oh, you could use this with a card that has fading, and when it's about to fade away, then you just boomerang it and you play it again.
Phasing. With a PH or with an F, is there a fading?
Fading.
Fading is
like Blastoderm.
Oh, okay.
And now when I say that, I'm like, we didn't talk about this because I remember we had this fading discussion, and I was like, oh, you could use this on Blastoderm. And then I went like this, and I looked up Blastoderm and MTG stocks, and then I was like, no. Oh, now I was just going to say, no, Blastoderm can't be targeted by black spells, but that's not true. It says Blastoderm can't be the target of spells or abilities. That would be considered an ability, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But you're not target. Yeah, it's an ability. Probably.
Yes.
Yeah. We might have talked about this, and I brought up Blastoderm.
Yeah, there's a convenient way. I think it's like when is an ability, and if is a cost, or if is something else. I don't remember.
We'll figure that out.
We'll get back to it. We'll talk about it.
So this might have been the second time we talked about Stern Proctor on the show.
Who cares? Yeah.
And Blastoderm.
They didn't listen to our last podcast anyway, so. So where else was I going? Okay, try to get through some of these other purchases.
See, this is your responsibility, Alex, to mark down the cards that you talked about. You talked about already.
Massive failing. Okay. Oh, well, I was going to talk about No Rest for the Wicked, but we just talked about that a little bit ago.
Yeah, we talked about No Rest for the Wicked, which is a cool card.
It's fun. I think it's nice. It's only 2 casting cost, and it can bring multiple creatures back from the dead. I think it's to your hand, right, and not into play. But
yeah, because we talked about that being the reason why it's not ideal.
Like a weenie deck or a 0 casting cost creatures, or some kind of thing like that.
The weirdest art.
I like the art. I think the art's sweet.
Yeah, I didn't say it's not weird in a bad way.
Okay. It's kind of like it looks kind of like a trash can.
Yeah,
a trash can with a zombie skin face, like someone made a human skin lampshade thing,
and a robot arm, and then gave him dentures.
A robot arm, yeah. Well, he's got to eat.
He can't just gum down his food.
Yeah, the bones and sinews of the leftover zombies that he has. Okay, we talked about Thranlands. We talked about Raven Familiar. Did we talk about Intervene? Yes, we did. It counters a spell that targets a creature for 1 blue.
I do remember Intervene.
I like that. That was fun. Okay, here's one for you. Thran Foundry. I like this card because there's just 1 casting cost.
I thought you were going to say Thran Lens, and I was going to be like, we talked about that.
No, we talked about Thran. I have like 3 or 4 Thran cards. There's a few in here from this block.
I've seen this one before, and I've forgotten what it does. Thran Foundry, an uncommon from Urza's Destiny. Current market price, 23 cents. Artifact. Go, Alex. Go.
1 casting cost. For 1 and tap it, you remove it from the game, Target player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. It's kind of like a Feldon's Cane, which I should look up because I can't remember exactly what Feldon's Cane.
That's what I was thinking too.
Is
You
it-
could use it as a Felden's Cane, but you can also use it. I don't think you can use Felden's Cane against your opponent. You could also
No.
use this if you're playing a Reanimator deck
Yes,
and they want
and
to put
that's
a
what
bunch
I
of stuff in
thought.
their graveyard, and you're like, "F you,
Yes,
back to your library it goes.
right.
Back to your
Um,
library, buddy."
only one casting cost. I don't know. It's only been in this set, and it's 23 cents.
No, I think it's pretty cool.
Never been reprinted. Feldon's Cane is one casting cost. You tap it, reshuffle your graveyard into your library, and remove Feldon's Cane from the game. So it's, yeah.
It's
The
a better
same
Felden's
as
Cane.
Feldon's Cane, but it costs one more to use, but you can use it on your opponents.
Yeah, I think it's a better Felden's Cane. The one to use doesn't bother me when that comes with increased versatility,
Yeah, okay.
increased use cases.
It's at least a side grade. It's niche applicable.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you approve, Steve. On the topic of Thran Foundry, this one I've actually bought a while ago. I noticed it and I was surprised I'd never heard of it because I thought it seemed pretty good. Thran Turbine. Did you laugh? Was that a scoff laugh? Or did
No, I'm just all the Thran stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw when I typed in Thran into MTG stocks, the search bar just like auto completes so many Thrans.
Thran.
This is
Okay,
an
so-
Urza Saga uncommon again, I think.
Okay.
$1.49
casting
market
cost.
price. Okay,
Ooh,
go
price is
Alex,
up.
go.
Buck and a half. One casting cost artifact. During your upkeep, you may add up to 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana cannot be spent to play spells. So there's a restriction there right off the bat, but if you're running any kind of deck that has activation costs,
Yeah.
for only 1 mana, you can get this out and pay 2 per turn for your activation costs. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Trying to
It's like
think
a
what I
tool
would use
for-
it for.
Huh?
Trying to think what cards I'm interested in playing in the near future that I could use this for. I don't know. If I had 2 Basking Root Wallas out
So
to add pluses to a Basking Root Wall, I have to pay
how
a
about
colorless and
Helm
a
of
green.
Obedience?
What?
How about Helm of Obedience?
Helm of Obedience. There you go.
Spiking right now in price, actually, by the way, too.
Navinril's Disc.
Um,
Does that cost mana to activate?
I don't remember. It's funny, I don't remember that.
Just 1 and tap. If you have 2
But
Navinril's
it comes
Discs
into,
out.
I was gonna say it comes into play tapped. That's its thing.
Yeah. Mana burn's not a thing, so who cares if you don't need the 2?
Yeah, and plus you can add up to 2, so it's like
Oh
they
yeah,
were
it's okay. It's at up to
playing
2.
around the mana burn back then, but it doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, I definitely see decks that you could get a lot of use out of this.
What's
And somebody tried to spike this card back in mid 2019.
really?
Went from 50 cents to almost $5. A couple months. It's come back down.
You could use this on your grinning totem, although you sacrificed your grinning totem, so just once. But I mean, and there's a million things that have activation costs. A lot of them have colored mana, but most of the artifacts don't, and some of the creatures don't. So
It can activate my Icy Manipulator.
well, okay, so let's hold on a second. Let's
Look
take
at this 9th edition
brief-
Icy Manipulator art. I don't know about this, buddy.
Weird. That's
Come
weird.
on now, what are we doing?
guys.
Stop. That was totally unnecessary. You start with this, not to disparage any hardworking artists. We started with this, right?
But it's ultimate. It looks amazing.
You started with that. There was no need for this.
I don't know if people know this, but there was a point in time where Icy Manipulator was probably the most desired card like in the game other than Black Lotus.
Definitely for us. Definitely
It
for us
was
youngins.
it was the like textbook expensive card that was awesome that you wanted. Um, I don't think Mox's. I mean, Mox's probably cost the same amount as a Black Lotus back then. At that point,
I can't remember. Can't remember the relative cost of those two.
we didn't know about Mox's at that point. I don't think we knew about Icy Manipulator, and it
Yeah,
was
that's why I'm like, that is. I mean,
25 or 30 bucks, and it might have even been more. It might have been more than that because I think it. They reprinted it obviously, and I was really surprised to find out how little the Ice Age copy of Icy Manipulator is worth.
I know.
Because it was worth money, 15 bucks or 20 bucks at one point.
It's just Ice Age printed in high numbers, and I guess this few people play Ices.
Okay, so let's go back on what I was saying. I think I might have been a little bit dumb here. With Thran
A
Turbine,
little bit.
Turbine. Do you say turbine? Do you say turbine?
I say turbine, Alex. Jesus.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure.
Turbine's a different word.
I was just gonna say that. Okay, never mind. You can only use this during your upkeep because it's gonna leave your mana pool.
Oh yeah.
So basically you can only use it for upkeep costs, right? Which doesn't make it horrible, but yeah, it's a niche card.
Okay, yeah.
For 1 mana, you could put it into a deck that has upkeep costs.
I was getting too excited. This is what I do when I read cards for the first time. I pay attention to like the sentence that I like. And then I ignore any sentences I don't like, and I just immediately start thinking what I could do with it.
Well, so this would be good with like Shallow Grave, maybe. Because it has a cumulative colorless upkeep, right?
Shallow Grave? Is
that what we're talking about? Tombstone Stairwell.
That's what I was going to say. Are you talking about
Tombstone Stairwell? I am old, Steve.
I was wondering if you were talking about Tombstone Stairwell. I don't remember if Tombstone Stairwell is 2 colorless or 1 colorless, 1 black.
I thought it was 2 colorless cumulative, but I can't remember.
It's 1 colorless, 1 black.
Oh, God. Well,
you can use this card for anything.
You can use it for. You can still use it for Tombstone Stairwell.
This is why nobody's buying Thran Turbine.
You can use it for upkeep costs. This is my point, and I stand by that. It's gonna be fine.
Well, it's not your point. It's what's written on the card. Yes, you can use it. Well, no, it doesn't. That's not true. It's not written on the card. You can use it for upkeep costs.
That need upkeep cost.
It's just written that during your upkeep you get the 2 colors, man. Okay, so I guess it is your point. I'll give you that much.
Oh. Yeah.
There's a guy in a wizard hat.
I love the flavor text on this is great. When Urza asked the Viashino what it did, they answered, "It hums."
Yeah.
I thought
you can say that to people when they ask you what the hell this thing does for you when you play it.
Hums.
You're like, it hums.
Ooh, cut. I've decided I want to start reading the flavor text of cards like before/as I play them.
Mm-hmm. Do it.
Yeah. I didn't do that back in the day. Okay. Some more cards. We got. Did I tell you about Mark of Fury? That's the haste spell for 1 red. Yeah, we talked about that. Did we talk about Reckless Abandon?
I can't remember. You don't remember us talking about Mark of Fury. I mean, that's going to be a part of my.
I did talk about that. All right.
Turn 1 kill Colossus of Sardia deck.
Okay, I didn't talk about Hunting Moa. I don't know if this is good or not. This is a borderline card for me.
Hunting Moa.
MOA. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
2 colorless, 1 green. He's a 3/2, some sort of New Zealand bird.
They're extinct. They were the largest. They might have been the largest land bird.
Yeah, I've heard of it before. I guess I didn't realize at first that this was based on a real life creature, but now you're right. Yeah, it's like
the last one died. Am I totally wrong? But I believe the last one died like not all that long
modern
ago.
Times.
Yeah,
hunted by pre-modern people or something. Yeah, I remember
It was quite some time ago. It was much longer than I thought. 1440 to 1445.
Yeah, well, that's pre-modern. That's what I thought you meant.
Yeah. I've seen a skeleton of a moa. That is it. Never met one in real life. What were you saying about the moa? Two
Anyways,
colorless,
well,
one
I was
green.
just reading it. I was just reading it, so
its creature type is a beast,
it's
not
a
a
beast.
bird.
I bet they've changed that. That could be on
Interesting.
that
That's
could be
what I
on
was
the book.
wondering.
He has Echo, which means if I'm correct, you have to pay his casting cost again next turn.
I believe so.
Whenever hunting Moa comes into play or is put into a graveyard from play, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you cast him, he's a 3/2 for 3, and he puts a +1/+1 counter on something. And then when he dies, which will either be next turn when you decide not to pay his
Not
Echo
to pay.
or when he gets killed, then you get to put another +1/+1 counter on target.
Interesting.
I feel like it's not the best. It's an uncommon. It's not worth anything, but I feel like there's some fun way to play this.
Interesting. I do feel like I want to try this guy in a silly little green stompy deck that I'm building.
Yeah, there might be some way to fool around.
I'm building green stompy, and you build green stompy. There's a bunch of different creatures you can put in. I feel like sometime I might want to rotate out some creatures, put in the hunting moa, see how this goes in that deck. Because yeah, like worst case scenario, you just spent 2 colorless and a green to put a 2/2 counter on something, and you got a 3/2 in turn for 1 turn. Like that's worst case scenario for this guy.
If you played him with that Mark of Fury for 1 red haste, you could play it in like a haste deck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have these like little 3 power creatures coming out and attacking like a crazy stalking, crazy running Moa Velociraptor style.
Not bad. Here's his Destiny uncommon.
Not bad. Not bad. I finally picked up Reign of Filth, which I've mentioned before, but I'll mention it now because it's from Urza's Saga and it's really good. It's a 1 black instant. And for the turn, every land you control gains the ability sacrifice this land for 1 black mana.
Right. Yeah, this one's just been going up and up and up.
Yeah, it has an interesting graph. It's a never reprinted uncommon, so I mean it could be reprinted at any time. But this is the old black border, so it probably won't crash to nothing. And I sort of feel like they don't. I've been wrong about this before, but I sort of feel like they don't want to reprint this maybe because I don't know. It's a little bit abusable. Looks like it could add to some crazy combos.
Yeah, I think they might reprint anything though if it gets too expensive.
Right.
Anything that's not on the reserve list, that if it gets too expensive and people want to play it, I think they might just reprint it.
You're right. Yeah, they just.
I don't know that for a fact, but
hopefully to balance it in the current set or format. But yeah, it's a great finisher. You can go through sacrifice all your land to get a whole bunch of mana to finish off someone with a drain life or.
Now that being said, too expensive could be like way more than the 750 market price currently. Could get up to. There are cards that are well over $50, up to $100 that they don't just reprint just because they're that expensive.
Yeah, and it isn't uncommon, but I mean, I'd rather buy it at 7 than be mad that it's 15.
I wonder what people are using this so often for. Like pre-modern deck lists I'm looking through, people I'm watching on YouTube play pre-modern games. I don't ever see Reign of Filth in their decks. So, and I just bring up pre-modern because this is a pre-modern set, Urza Saga. It's right in the sweet spot for pre-modern. I wonder what formats, what deck types people are running this in. It must be big in something, or else it wouldn't be, priced at 750 for an
I'll be
uncommon.
honest, I didn't look that deeply into it because when I saw it, I was just like, "Oh, this is great," and I saw that it was $7, and I was like, "Other people think it's great."
Yeah.
But I like it.
I mean, yeah, anything you can use to add a ton of mana to your mana pool to do something big, like you said, is something that's abusable.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
I know.
Know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah. Reign of Filth is pretty good. Pretty good. There's a lot of good cheap cards in this Urza set. You know, browsing these sets that I'm not that familiar with, I started just by, of course, looking at the most expensive things. But after last week, when you talked about some of the cheaper commons and uncommons you found, I started digging through
There's a lot, so
the
many.
bottom of the price barrel in the Urza sets, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of cool like commons and uncommons down here that I would play. Even some cool rares that are like a buck or two that just don't get a lot of play, don't get a lot of attention, but I think I should try to pick some of them up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff to play, especially if you're playing in some kind of block format or local casual rules or something.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to incorporate some of these cards.
Let's see some of the stuff I've picked up recently. I started buying some things from the dark after
I love the dark.
we talked about the dark a couple episodes. I'm like, I want to get some of these cards from the dark.
I love the dark because I want it to be better than it is.
Well, I know it's the art's so cool. So
I
this is
love
the thing.
yeah.
Some of the cards I'm going to show you, I knew of them, of course. I never played them back in the day. I'm not going to play them now, even though I just bought them. But the first one, Blood of the Martyr.
Yeah.
This is the one with just some of the coolest art from the set.
Old Blood Eyes Lady.
Old Blood Eyes Lady, 3 white instant. For remainder of turn, you can redirect damage done to any number of creatures to yourself instead. Never really been in a situation where I wanted to do that, but the card has really cool art, so I bought it. And they're super, like a lot of these cards from the dark too. The dark only has a few expensive cards. Everything else is pretty cheap. So
yeah, no, I did the same thing. I bought this because I just like the art. I think it'll look sweet in a binder.
yeah,
It's not inconceivable that it would be useless. Like you could combo this with something, I guess, but I just like the art.
and then hey, maybe someday you're just going to be playing some Magic, with some casual Magic with some friends, and we'll be like, oh, let's just make dark decks or something.
Yeah,
That's
the way I look at a lot of this. I'm like, I know I probably won't have enough friends that are ever interested in doing that, but I'd like to build time period or
yeah,
specific kinds of decks.
exactly. I want to do that. Alex, don't pretend like you're never going to have friends. It might happen for you one day.
By the way,
Okay.
I ran into Lee's cousin Steven at the Magic card shop, and he plays Magic apparently, has recently taken it up. And I talked to him and I was like, oh, he was next door playing in like their second room, and I talked to him about it for a little bit, so I might have found a real life Magic person to play with.
Which Lee's cousin is this?
His name's Steven, he's younger.
No, which Lee's cousin?
Shout out to Steven.
Which Lee is this? The Cleveland Lee or the Lee next to you?
Youngstown Lee.
Okay. Just wondering what Lee. That's all.
I was confused.
How old is he? He's Lee's cousin. Is he like 30s?
Probably even younger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 20s. I'm not sure exactly. Late 20s.
So he's not an old man yet.
No.
You can introduce him to old man cards.
He doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know about all this old timey stuff. He's gonna be all confused when I show him.
Okay, maybe this podcast. When this podcast can go for a long time, it's gonna go forever. It's gonna go till one of us dies, and at some point we're gonna get to the modern sets. We're gonna get out of the old frame. We got a lot of old frame to go over. Old frame that we missed because we were inactive for so long. But eventually we're gonna hit that Mirrodin, right? We're gonna get to those new frames. We're gonna be like, we have no idea what's going on here. We're gonna need some young blood to come into the podcast and teach us about these new sets. By the time we get there, those sets will be like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Anyways, another card I bought from the dark, Uncle Istvan, because I felt like I needed to have an Uncle Istvan, right?
Uncle Istvan.
I didn't have any Uncle Istvans. He's the only summon Uncle Istvan in the entire
definitely
in the entire world of Magic.
There might be no, he's the only.
I figure I'm like we talked about the Don format not that long ago, a couple episodes ago. There should be like an Uncle Istvan format.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
So it's just a matter of time before all the old timers decide they want to invent an Uncle Istvan format, and then this card's going to go through the roof.
I always liked Uncle Istvan. He's cool. He has a lot of flavor. And then they reprinted him in Chronicles, right? Isn't that what happened?
I forgot that.
Some crap like that.
Anyways, they did the same thing to Don. The old timers will not allow new border, white border Uncle Istvan in their Uncle Istvan format.
By the way, Uncle Istvan,
Yeah, he was reprinted in Chronicles.
Okay.
No. Renaissance is
That's
Italian.
four and black border. Oh, huh. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, Uncle Esteban is only
I wonder
black
what I was
border.
thinking about. That's weird.
No, oh sorry, I missed it.
Oh, fourth edition.
Fourth edition.
It's the one that came up. That's confusing when it's the one that comes up.
It does.
Yeah, and that looks so bad with the white border.
I know.
Yeah,
It's a travesty.
it doesn't look like it. Okay. Uncle Esteban is one colorless and three black to summon. He's 1/3 summon Uncle Esteban, which is probably changed by now.
No.
All damage done to Uncle Esteban by creatures is reduced to 0. So he's like a sweet ground blocker. Or even a good attacker if you pump him, I guess, or put some sort of like a cool effect on him. But he's
I'm over here cracking myself up because I'm thinking about how during the Great Creature update, there was somebody at Wizards that was like, "We cannot update Uncle Esteban. He will remain Uncle Esteban."
Yeah. With the one card we won't change.
Yeah.
I like him. He's like a spooky old crazy guy from the woods with a hatchet and a human skull.
I know.
Like old cannibal man or something.
I like him too. In Commander, you have to pay a legend as your commander. Does it have to be a legend?
I don't think so.
Okay. Uncle Esteban's gonna be my commander, my first commander.
I might be wrong, but geez, I don't even know.
I don't know either. We shouldn't have talked about it. We shouldn't talk about commander.
Bring the stuff on me. The thing is, though, that your deck has to match your commander colors, right? Though, so if you played Uncle Esteban, if that's legal, which we'll find out, but then your deck can only be mono black.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Another card I bought from the dark. This is a card that I actually wish was legal in pre-modern, and it is not, and it's upsetting to me.
We keep saying Uncle Esteban, but there's no A. It's Uncle Esteban. And I never knew that. If you'd asked me to spell it from memory, I would have spelled it with 2 A's in there. Sorry.
I'm just going to keep pronouncing it the way I want to pronounce it.
Sorry.
Make my own rules. Third purchase from the dark, another cheap card. Tividar's Crusade.
Yeah, I got one.
This is awesome. I wish this was legal in pre-modern. I mean, goblin decks are pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And this is cool. All goblins are destroyed. Just a big
Why haven't they reprinted this card?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know. Like goblins are a recurring thing.
I thought that too, and I'm
they will reprint.
Did they decide? I had this thought when I picked this card up. So yeah, it was printed in the dark, only the dark. Its current market price $245. One colorless, 2 white. All goblins are destroyed. It's a sorcery. So it eliminates all goblins. And I thought maybe they felt bad after they printed this card. And they decided that they didn't want to print like just tribal hate cards. I started to think, are there any other tribal hate cards? Is there any card that's like all angels are destroyed, all elves are destroyed? They just did this to the goblins, and I would say the goblins deserve it more so than any other tribe.
Yeah, maybe zombies.
There's no card like that, right? There's no card that is there a card that destroys all zombies?
I don't want to say because there's so much we don't know.
I know there's so much that we don't know.
Just to think of one.
But this is something I'm interested in, and it's something I do some research on. I'm gonna look into.
Definitely wouldn't reprint it with the same art. They would change the art to a non-crucifixion art.
They probably would. And that would ruin part of the joy I get from playing this card.
Again, I had to pick this up just because it goes in a binder. And who knows, maybe at some point someone's going to be like, holy shit, we need, there's going to be a reason that a goblin hate card will go up to $20.
I know. I wish it was legal in pre-modern. It would be in the sideboards of anybody that played white, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're looking at here.
I was trying to think, are there any other tribal hate cards? And I couldn't think off the top of my head of any cards that target any tribe specifically or any creature type specifically, but I was reminded of Extinction from Tempest, 4 colorless, 1 black. I bought a playset of these. It's a sorcery, destroy all creatures of any creature type of your choice. Because I thought about, maybe I'm tired of dealing with somebody's elf deck, somebody's goblin deck. If I'm playing black, I might want to put some Extinctions in my sideboard. I also bought it because of the flavor text.
It's a great way for black to get rid of vampires if you can't like terror or use like a lot of like black removal doesn't work on black creatures.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, anybody who's playing some sort of deck that's focused on any one creature type, like If you know that, if you could sideboard this, you won't have to worry about using 4 terrors to try to get rid of 4 angels. Just play the extinction.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Wipe their
Someone probably
board.
thinks we're dumb, but I'm okay with this card.
Who's dumb? You calling me dumb?
No, I said someone thinks we're dumb.
You call that?
Someone
Yeah, no, I'm
actually
angry at that person.
yeah.
They better watch their language. Volrath is the flavor text on this card. Volrath. I once had an entire race killed just to listen to the rattling of their dried bones as I waded through them. I feel like
It was probably a small race. Like they were probably very little.
if they ever reprint this card, they will not put that same flavor text on the bottom.
Yeah, probably not. No, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep seeing things like that where I'm like, if they reprint this, they'll change the
Yeah,
the art, they'll change the text.
a little bit brutal.
I mean, I like it. I think it's fine, but
It's pretty racist.
everyone...
He literally says race, kill an entire race. Problematic, Alex.
Yeah.
A few more cards from the dark that I purchased. This is actually a card that I will play, I'd imagine. I mean, it was very playable back in the day, and I still think it has a place in cards or in a bunch of decks, probably. Might be some cards that were printed that were. There might be some cards that have been printed that do very similar things, but this is a good card. Scavenger Folk.
Oh, I remember Scavenger Folk.
1 green, 1/1, summon Scavenger Folk. Pay 1 forest and tap, sacrifice Scavenger Folk to destroy artifacts. So it's just one of these nice little 1-drop 1/1s that also has another ability.
Uh-huh.
It's also, in my opinion, the perfect art to depict a deranged hermit. So there's there's an actual deranged hermit who's also pretty deranged. She's a crazy lady in the woods who has a bunch of squirrels around her. But this is like a perfect deranged hermit.
That's even better. Yeah.
That's a perfect deranged hermit.
Yeah, that's one of those cards that I think we like. It was in Chronicles, I think maybe.
It was in Chronicles, yeah.
Everyone ignored it, like, oh, this is just a junk card. There's a million of them, but it's not too bad if you look at it.
No,
like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I played some Scavenger Folk because, like, I remember we talked about something recently. I don't remember if it was on or off the podcast. I think it was on the podcast. Talking about green killing artifacts, and I was like, all you had was crumble, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is a crumble. This is a crumble that's also a creature.
Yeah. It's for 1 casting cost, you can get it out early and you can take care of a Phyrexian Dreadnought with it.
Yep.
Yep.
2 more cards. Tormod's Crypt. I think I talked to you about this.
Tormod's Crypt.
If this it's not
recently, didn't it?
If it's not the most played card in pre-modern, it was at some point in the not too distant future because of so many cards that had so many decks people were running that format that had graveyard interaction. It was just worth it to put a crypt in your sideboard. Everybody was sideboarding Tormod's Crypts and then bringing them in to wipe out the graveyard of their opponent. So Tormod's Crypt, originally printed in the dark, a 0 casting cost, tap, sacrifice Tormod's Crypt to remove all cards in target player's graveyard from the game. All cards in target player's graveyard from the game. So good luck with your Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah.
And then I'll sack my Tormod's Crypt.
For 0 casting cost, and you can tap it immediately and use it immediately when it comes into play, because it's an artifact. Like, we didn't notice this card much back in the day, but it again just gets, I don't know, better with time. Like for 0 casting cost, there's no, it's kind of like, why not include it at least in a sideboard to like totally disrupt someone else's game?
Yeah, and we've talked about how much more graveyard interaction there is nowadays than there was back in the day when we played. So, this card has gotten more attention because of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought the price was up a lot.
Starting in 2018, yeah, it was $2 for a long time. 2018 spiked up to almost 10 or about 10, maybe a little bit more than 10, depending on what month you bought it. And down to about 7, and now it's just been 10 for a while. So it's been holding in pretty steady there, $10 since like early 2019.
Yeah, and it's a pretty looking card in the black border.
It is really good
looking. Nice looking card. I'd like to get one.
It's been reprinted multiple times. I didn't mention that. You can buy it for 50 cents in Chronicles, Commander 2014.
F all that S.
Yeah. If something's around $10 in original, with original art, original border, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next card, which I bought a big boy from the dark, Alex. I bought one of the big boys.
Get it. Get it.
And I don't want to
Drop
buy
it
4 of
down.
the originals
Use it.
because this is one that's been reprinted. You can get the reprints very cheap, but I wanted one of the OGs. It's a ball lightning. I bought a ball lightning from the dark. Everybody knows what ball lightning does. 3 red, 6/1 trample, can attack the turn it's summoned. Summon ball lightning. I wonder what this is after the Great Creature update. I have to look into that. I don't know what they changed ball lightning to.
Summon elemental.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's probably that. The elementals, yeah, that is a creature type. Probably did change to elemental.
But that doesn't surprise me that you got that. I know how much you like that card, and yeah, we all knew about it a ton and used it back in the day.
I love the ball lightning. I got to build a mono red burn deck at some point. You know, getting back into the Magic. Start with the green stompy. Start with the mono red burn.
I have an old red burn / goblin deck, and this was in it, except it's a 4th edition version, not a radical the dark version.
In my mind, this was reprinted in Chronicles, but yeah, it's not. It's
I
been
thought so
reprinted.
too. Yeah, but I'm seeing it's 4th edition.
4th edition, 5th edition. I'll be picking up probably 3 of these at some point to finish out my play set. You can get these for about $3.
Oh, the dark one looks so much better though.
They look so much better.
Holy cow.
And people will play this card forever, I feel like.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not going to go down.
How's it look?
Oh, it's really good.
Nice.
I mean, I'd call it near mint to light play.
Okay.
Can't remember if I ordered near mint or light play. It's probably on the border of those two.
Yeah, sweet.
It's got a little bit of whitening down here at this one edge. Tiny little spot up top. But it's pretty tasty. It's looking tasty, Alex. So those are my dark purchases. Some playable, some just to look pretty.
Can I throw a dark? I'll throw a dark purchase in on you.
Okay.
Super cheap. Super cheap. The card Festival.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about this probably before we started podcasting, I think. Festival has some crazy, weird clown carny folk on it.
Yeah.
Like they're from some sort of Renaissance festival from an Edgar Allan Poe story or something.
It's like half an Orm's Champ.
Half an Orm's Champ, yeah.
The worst half of the Orm's Champ, but still.
It's 1 white, and your opponent can't attack this turn.
Yeah,
basically is what it does.
Yeah, one half an Orm's Champ. It's the kicker for the Orm's Champ.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. Which makes it mostly not as good, but maybe in a niche scenario, what you want instead of having to pay 2 mana. People have talked about fog in comparison to this. It's old classic. I think it's a classic common 1 green.
Yeah.
I think it's creatures don't do damage or something. I can't even remember.
Can't remember if it's they don't attack or they don't do damage. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. That's at least the language edge of 2010, Magic 2010. Let me pull up an old version. Let me pull up the Alpha edition.
Alpha, what did they say?
The OG. Creatures attack.
By fog.
Creatures attack and block as normal, but none deal any damage. All attacking creatures are still tapped. Play anytime before attack damage is dealt.
It's all fine. It makes sense. It's just later on they didn't need to say all that because it was just in the rules. Okay, but what I like here about Festival compared to Fog or compared to some other things is that they aren't allowed to attack, which means I can now combo it with something like, here's a card we knew about but never used, and I don't know if I'm just thinking the cards are better now than I used to, but Siren's Call.
I have a vague memory of that. It's like if something doesn't attack, it dies or something.
Yeah, it destroys all. It's basically going to kill all the creatures that don't attack for 1 blue. So here you have a 1 blue, 1 white combo that will destroy all of your opponent's creatures.
All of target opponent's creatures that can attack must do so. Oh. Can it be considered a creature that can't attack, though, if you've played Festival first?
I don't think so. I believe the
Did I just bust your combo then?
Is I think the wording on Siren's Call is now about like whether it's a legal choice or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Festival. Opponent may not declare an attack this turn. You have to play it during the upkeep. Festival. Opponent cannot declare an attack. Siren's Call. all of target opponent creatures that can attack must do so. So if you played Festival,
possible conflict there.
They can't attack then.
Alex,
this might be the worst combo.
I think I read no. Okay, hold on, listen.
You're looking for the Gatherer text.
Yeah, the new text on this is so long.
Oh geez, they made it longer.
Yeah.
This is the segment of the podcast where we
frantically,
where we pull up the revised language in the text box of Siren's Call.
Creatures the active player controls attack this turn if able.
What did you say?
Creatures the active player controls attack this turn if able.
But they're not able.
Hold
if you played Festival.
They don't attack. So they don't attack.
Okay.
At the beginning of the next end step, destroy all non-wall creatures that player controls that didn't attack this turn.
Okay. So when I read that, it sounds like they would die with Festival.
Yes, yes, and I think the combo still works.
Creatures the active player controls attack this turn if able.
Call, the rulings are that say the creature is destroyed if it does not attack because it simply can't do so legally.
It is destroyed. Yeah.
It is destroyed.
You've broken magic, Alex. You've broken it with the Sirens deck. I mean,
I got this combo out of the Gatherer notes.
Sirens Festival. You're going to pilot it to a world championship.
Festival's Call.
Sirens Festival.
Sirens
Festival of Sirens.
I think it's in like the discussion for Festival. I think someone proposes this comment.
Yeah, you made it
it's
up,
like
buddy.
The top comment. During opponent's upkeep, Festival plus Siren's Call equals your friends hate you.
Nah, none of us read that. You made it up, buddy.
I did. You're right. But yeah, also Maddening Imp. We've talked about Maddening Imp before. Thing. You tap it to make all non-wall creatures attack if able, and it destroys them if they didn't attack. So that costs 3 mana to get the Maddening Imp down. So it's not as cheap as the Siren's Call, but Festival works in a Maddening Imp deck then. Urg Raiders, someone else mentions.
I'm surprised that the community rating for Festival on Gather is higher than I thought it would be. 3.7 almost.
Yeah,
I just say that because I've never played. There was never any point where I was playing against somebody and they like played a Festival. I've never seen it in the deck list.
No, I've never seen anyone use this
card. Yeah.
I knew about it. I remember the art. But
yeah, I do too. That's the only reason I remember.
They mentioned this weird wonky card I talked about before. Remember Oracle Envec? It has super confusing wording. Target opponent chooses any number of creatures he or she controls. During that player's next turn, those creatures attack if able, and no other creatures can attack. At the end of the turn, destroy each of those creatures that did not attack. So confusing. And they've changed the wording on this. But we talked about it before. So
your opponent gets to decide what they attack with.
And also read the new text, because the old text they've changed it. So there we go. Target opponent chooses any number of creatures they control
during their next turn. During the player's next turn, the chosen creatures attack if able, and the other creatures cannot attack. At the beginning of that turn's end step, destroy each of the chosen creatures that didn't attack this turn.
I love this card. I want you to show this to Eli and be like, this is a child's game, Eli.
Does Eli call it? Did he call it a child's game?
You told me he said that. I was trying to
forgot.
Get it. He was like, this is a child's game.
I told you I don't remember anything. I forgot we talked about this card before, and I've already forgotten what it does.
Oh, I forgot what it did. I just remember that we talked about it, and it was confusing. It has a Maddening Imp type effect. It makes them attack. It also has the weird thing that it stops other things from attacking. So it kind of lets your opponent decide what the attack will be next turn. He gets to like set it up.
It's weird. You have to do it, a turn in advance.
Yeah, in advance.
And it's but they decide what they're going to attack with, and if the creatures die if they don't attack with it, but then they can just attack with it unless you have to have a spell. Like the only way you can actually definitely kill a creature you're interested in killing is to have another spell that prevents one of those creatures that they chose to attack from attacking.
Well, it makes them commit to attacking with those creatures, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like you can use it in a combo with something that makes those creatures not attack.
Yeah. You have to combo. It's just a weird combo.
It's weird.
Like I don't know if I want to put a 1/1 colorless 1 white wizard in my deck so I can build this combo
I
into
think
my
it's
deck.
simpler to do it with like Siren's Call and Festival because it's just spells. You don't have to bring in a creature with summoning sickness.
This card has a community rating of 3.9 on Gatherer, which is what am I not getting? Like most cards from sets do not have community ratings of 4 on Gatherer.
Well, I think I've looked at this before. I think they just suggest some combos with it. I don't know.
Maybe this was a big combo deck at some point.
Cessation.
Ugh.
I don't have to look that card up. I can't remember.
It negates the ability to attack with haste. It's often as good as giving your creatures flash, since you can get your opponent to commit to an attack and then play a buff blocker that will kill whatever they're attacking with. Okay. But then you gotta hold a creature in your hand just to like the next turn after they've committed to attack, block with
It's
it and kill it.
tricky and confusing and complicated.
It's very
I think
clunky.
you could probably do something with it, but it's just.
Yeah, it's just I'm surprised that this is a 4-star card on Gatherer. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Know what I'm saying, Alex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, festival and fun for 1 white. What the heck?
It's the end of our dark discussion for the day.
That's it.
And with that, I think that's the end of episode 8, Alex.
We did it.
I'm going to wrap this up.
Is it going to be watermelon colors?
Potentially, I'm not sure.
I like that. I vote for.
Okay. Thumbnail will be watermelon colors then. This is the part of the podcast where I say thank you for listening to the Old Man Magic podcast. I hope you enjoyed. You can find us on our YouTube channel at Old Man Magic. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You can also find Old Man Magic podcast on Spotify, and you can follow us on Twitter at Old Man Magic. At whatever point in the future I figure out how to upload our podcast to Apple Podcasts, you will be able to find us on Apple Podcast platform as well. I'm having trouble. They won't accept. I believe they don't accept
Get together, Apple. Come on.
I think they're not accepting our RSS feed because the image is not 1400 by 1400 pixels, but I'm not entirely sure what image they're talking about.
You probably don't like it.
I believe they're talking about the image that's associated with our RSS feed, but I updated it to 1400 by 1400 pixels.
Satanic because it's a pentagram.
Anyways,
Wow.
all that being said, you have anything else to add, Alex?
No, thank you for tuning in. Had fun talking about magic.
Okay, thank you. See you next episode.